Hi, I'm Diane Sweeney, and I wanted to take a few minutes to frame our current thinking about coaching cycles in the current state of schooling with the limitations of in person support and virtual and hybrid and all of the changes teachers are facing in this crazy school year. And so, as you learn about student centered coaching and as you think about this work, it's quite apparent that we highly value and advocate for the practice of coaching cycles. And you probably know the components of a coaching cycle, but the big piece that we'd like to really always emphasize is that a coaching cycle is measurable and it's deep enough to where we see the impact on student and teacher learning. So it's hard for us to kind of face the truth that these days, coaching cycles may not be a top priority for some teachers, and that's understandable. And it's understandable simply because teachers are, as we hear over and over again, in survival mode for very real reasons. And so we're not pulling back from our belief in coaching cycles, but what we're trying to do is think with coaches and leaders about other ways coaches can be student centered in their work and also support teacher development and be really responsive and meet teachers where they are. So, a couple of these things are mini coaching cycles, which are kind of the snack size version of a coaching cycle. So, instead of committing to 4 to 6 weeks across a full unit, a coach and teacher may work just on a lesson or two together. There's still the same components to some degree of a regular coaching cycle, because you'd have some co-planning and some co-teaching and looking at student evidence. So a mini cycle really is a smaller version of a full cycle. And we're hearing from many coaches that these are really meeting a lot of teachers' needs right now. Another additional thing to think about with mini coaching cycles is that you can focus on things like engagement or management. Those sorts of things may tuck nicely into mini coaching cycles. We wrote a blog post on mini coaching cycles, so I will link that in this video and you can check it out if you'd like. A second thing that we're suggesting coaches do is really taking planning to new levels. So this could include planning lessons. It could also include planning full units and thinking about how do we create units, especially online units, where students are expected to work fairly independently. How do we make sure that students have no problem navigating, no problem going deep in their learning, and can get right to it and not be lost in the busyness, lost in the shuffle, or lost in work that is low level or doesn't challenge them? So, the idea of planning units together is really a fun strategy that I think we have yet to fully explore in our work with student centered coaching. And we have tapped into that. We wrote a chapter on that in our new book that's coming out called Coaching from a Distance. And we've kind of cozied up with some pretty big gurus in unit online, tech integration and online unit planning to understand some practices in that world that we could apply to ours. Also, another option is just planning a single lesson. This is a way for a coach to work in a way with teachers where it's not threatening, it's not overwhelming, and it's simply a chance for a coach and teacher to really do the work of thinking together and being thinking partners. So that's a great option as well. Obviously, it may lead to more intense and deep work, we would hope. So that's maybe an opportunity just to build a relationship and begin working with teachers. So those three things: mini cycles, planning units with teams or individual teachers, and also thinking about lesson planning are all ways that we can support teachers and not demand of ourselves, which we're hearing a lot of coaches feeling like they're letting people down if they're not doing a whole bunch of coaching cycles, and also demand it not just of ourselves, but of others. And so we want to be responsive. And we do hope that times will return to normalcy and we can still be advocating for coaching cycles as the months progress. In closing, I just wanted to point out one funny thing that occurred to us most recently. And that's that when you think about the bullseye graphic, that bullseye graphic that anchors our new book, The Essential Guide for Student-Centered Coaching, among other resources, the bullseye graphic really zeroes in on the idea of coaching student learning is at the center of the bullseye. And we realize that we don't actually have coaching cycles even on that bullseye graphic because coaching cycles are a structure. So remember that to use student evidence, to be a partner, to really collaborate around learning with teachers, that's the heart of student-centered coaching. So don't measure your worth on if you're doing enough coaching cycles right now. Measure your worth on, am I having student-centered conversations with teachers? And that's really how we will begin to continue to support schools, teachers, and kids too. Thanks so much.